In this video, I will be analyzing the video editing and video production of popular YouTuber Ali Abdaal. So the first thing that I want to actually talk about has nothing to do with video editing. I probably would have cut out just a few of those words. Ali is a former doctor turned entrepreneur, podcaster, New York Times bestselling author, and his YouTube videos, mostly about productivity, get hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views. I will be looking at what is currently his most viewed videos with over 13 million views, called 9 Passive Income Ideas, How I Make $27,000 a Week. I would like to make $27,000 a week. Now you're probably wondering,
who the heck is this guy?
And that's a fair question. Well, my name is Chris and I've been a professional video editor for over 15 years in the television industry. I've also produced, written, directed on set, so I've been doing this for a while, but recently I have become obsessed with YouTube. And so I will be examining Ali Abdaal's video, not necessarily about what he's talking about because I'm not an expert at productivity, but more so about the video editing and video production itself. Now I do want to be clear that this is not about negative criticism or saying anything is wrong per se. Every video editor has their own way of doing things, and once you get past a certain skill level, everything is subjective at that point. And sure, there might be things that maybe I would have done differently, but this is more of a learning experience for you and for myself. I am really excited for this. Let's get right to it. So I downloaded the video from YouTube and I brought it into Premiere, and I also use this feature in Premiere called Scene Edit Detection. What this feature does is analyze the entire video, and it will place an edit point at wherever it detects a cut. And the reason why I did that is so that if I want to go into, let's say, this shot over here, and I just kind of want to mess around with it, maybe play around with the scale or position, whatever, that will allow me to do that. All right, let's watch the video.
Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to talk about 9 different ways that you can make passive income. And for each of those, I'm going to talk about how hard it is to get started, how hard it is to make $100 a month from it, and how hard it is to maintain once you've created the thing in the first place. For me and my business, these...
All right, so the first thing that I want to actually talk about has nothing to do with video editing. Now, the first thing that I notice is that this is a very well balanced shot. Whenever I was on a film set, we would take a few minutes just to move something just slightly left or right in the frame, and this won't necessarily stop somebody from watching something, but it does subconsciously make something more enjoyable to watch if the composition of it is more pleasing to the eye.
For me and my business, these 9 different sources generate around $27,000 per week.
Again, this is such a little nitpick, and I'm sure I'm gonna be nitpicking throughout this video, but for this graphic here, because it's a white font and the pillow in the back is also white, the $ and the 2 just gets a little bit lost. If I were to just quickly mock something up here. All right, so I just quickly mocked up my own graphic, and all I did was add a little bit of drop shadow. But again, this is just a small design thing, and I'm not even that much of a designer, but it's just one thing that I noticed as I watched the video.
Is to provide value in a way that is not directly tied to your time. So please, please, please do not try and join a get-rich-quick scheme.
All right, so after just watching this for about a minute and a half now, I noticed that he is not changing his frame. And a lot of people do this in their edits, especially for just talking head videos. They will zoom in and zoom out or scale up the shot or anything like that, just to give some variation. And I noticed that he hasn't been doing that. And if I were to just scroll through the video, it looks like he doesn't do that at all. That's interesting. Now, I do want to point out that some editors don't do this the correct way. And what I'm talking about is, when you are scaling up a shot of someone talking, what you want to do is place the anchor point at their eye level. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I were to scale up the shot just as it is without moving the anchor point, look where his eyes are. Okay, his eyes are actually moving in the frame. And that's not what you want to do, right? So let me just reset that. So what you really want to do is, if you go into your motion tab, just make sure you move that anchor point just to about eye level. And if I were to scale up the shot now, let's do 120, the eyes are pretty much in the exact same spot. This is all about the concept of eye tracking. So let's say, for example, my phone is here on this side of the screen, and if I were to place a cut, and all of a sudden it's on this side of the screen. Your eyes had to go from here all the way to this side of the screen. And it just, you lose the viewer. There's this sort of negative experience to that. And this is a fairly small detail, but especially when you are doing quick cuts, you want to make sure that the eyes are pretty much in the same area. You don't want their eyes going from here to here to here to here. It's gonna mess everything up.
Let's get into the video. All right, so let's kick things off with investing in stocks and shares. And
so he's actually getting into the meat of the video, and he's talking about the very first form of passive income because he's going into another subject area. Just to sort of start a new palette, I would have changed the music. What I would have done is probably just fade out the first track and then bring in the second one.
So that is a solid half an hour long introduction to stocks and exactly.
Okay, so you can see here that the music has changed. He brought in another track, and realistically, probably what happened was that the first track was done, like that was as long as the track was, and then so he started bringing in another track. There's actually this feature in Adobe Premiere called the remix tool. So aside from video editing, I also dabble in producing my own music. So I have this track, which is my own track. It's called Finally Free. It's available on Spotify and wherever you stream music. So the remix tool. So this track is 1:51, and if for some reason I want it to be, I don't know, 3 minutes, all I need to do is drag out that part, bring it there, and Adobe is going to analyze the music and detect where it can loop specific parts of the music. So all these little squiggly lines are where it started to loop music. So let's just play this out. It's such a seamless edit. This is such a crazy tool. Listen to me, editors, okay? One very important thing that you need to learn how to do is know how to cut music. I know this is gonna sound crazy, but music editors, what you need to learn is basic music theory. It will help you edit music better, and it is so important. I hate when editors don't cut music properly, but this remix tool makes it so easy to extend music, and frankly, you could even shorten the music. So let's say you don't want it to be 1:51, you only want it to be this long. It will edit it to that duration. And again, it might not be perfect. It might not be exactly what you want, but it will get you there a lot faster. And especially if it's just background music like what Ali is doing. See, look at these edits. They're so seamless. You can't even tell.
Salary is around about $50,000, something like that. Then again, depending on your circumstances.
See, again, right over there, I probably would have cut out just a few of those words. A good way to make sure that you are cutting at the right spot is to turn on audio scrubbing. So if I press Shift and S, so I want to make sure that I get the word depending.
$1,000, something like that. Depending on your circumstances.
So I made the edit, and if I add a cross dissolve,
something like that, depending on your circumstances, it's not that hard.
That sounds like a very clean edit.
Savings. Oh, the real question is, how hard is it to actually make real money from YouTube? So again,
very hard.
You need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time.
I probably would have cut to some sort of B-roll at that moment. Maybe it's a screenshot of the YouTube Partner Program details instead of adding these graphics. I feel like we've been on the shot of Ali for a bit, so I think some B-roll would have been good there.
1,000 hours of watch time. It took me 6 months and 52 videos to get my first 1,000 subscribers. If we look at the averages, it actually takes on average 90 something videos.
I would have cut here because he says,
if we look at the averages,
if we look at the average, it actually takes on average. So he says the word average twice. Probably would have cut that down.
It took me 52 videos, 6 months to get there. So if people message me, be like, hey, I want to start a YouTube channel. I was like,
it also took me about 6 months to monetize my channel.
That's basically not going to happen. It took me 52 videos, 6 months to get there. So if people message me, be like,
how
hey,
he changes the music, it does bother me a little bit, to be honest, as a music guy. I really pay attention to music. Just the fact that he changed the track at some random point, it just, do better, Ali.
So on YouTube, if you had 62,000 subscribers, very roughly, very averagely,
I feel like at this moment he could have either cut the B-roll or just changed the shot a little bit just to give some variation. So again, let's just move the anchor point to about eye level. And if I press up on my keyboard, it will go to the previous edit. I will set a keyframe at that moment. And if I go to the very end by pressing down, I will set another keyframe. And I'll go up by, I don't know, let's say 110.
video. So on YouTube, if you had 62,000 subscribers, very roughly,
so you can see that there's a very slow zoom. It's maybe a little bit too subtle. Maybe I would have boosted that up a little bit.
So on YouTube, if you had 62,000 subscribers, very roughly, very averagely, you can expect 20% of them, i.e. 12,500 views on each video.
One thing that you do want to be careful with is if you are doing these zoom ins and zoom outs, you want to make sure that there is a purpose. So if you're doing a zoom in, usually you do that when the person is talking about something profound or something deep. And maybe I'll be using that effect right now, because as I lower my voice and I start talking like this and maybe start getting emotional about my life, a slow zoom in would really be effective at this moment. But you only do that because it is effective and it works at that specific moment. The worst thing that you could do as a video editor is add an effect or add a transition that has no real purpose, that doesn't serve the story, that doesn't serve the message.
And so in terms of starting out, I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 5 star rating because...
So for these graphics that pop up at the middle of the frame, they actually don't pop up. They slide in very gently. And the way to do that, if I just go to this empty frame here, let me just create this mock graphic that I will use as an example. You want it to end up at that point. So you add a keyframe. If you go into the beginning of the clip, animate it off the screen. Now, if I were to just leave it as is, it would come in and it would be very abrupt. Doesn't have that smooth effect. So if I go to the second keyframe, right click and select temporal interpolation and select easy in, that will make
offer something compelling
it a little bit smoother. What you really need to do to smoothen out that animation is go into the velocity curve. So if you go over here to the motion tab, go into your animation keyframes and twirl down this the twirly. I think it's actually called the twirly. I don't know. There's a little triangle here, and it will show the velocity curve. So the way that the velocity curve works is that the steeper the curve is, the faster the movement will be. So if I go into here, and if I were to move the handles here, so here, because you could see that, can I even make this bigger? Yeah, I can make that bigger. So you could see here that this is a very steep part of the curve, and then it starts to flatline. So that means that this part here is going to be a very slow, smooth point to this keyframe. So let's see what that looks like.
Able to offer something compelling, and you have to actually build it,
smooth.
Which takes a lot of work and is very hard, but it's a lot of fun. That's all in the playlist over here. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
So there's actually just, about 5 seconds of black at the very end, just so the music can resolve. I actually like that because, one, on YouTube, it gives a little bit more time for the end screens, but also it lets the music resolve properly. So it just feels like a nice way to end the video. For a video with over 13 million views, the video editing and production wasn't really that complicated, and it didn't need to be. I mean, one of the reasons why this video got so many views is, let's be real here, it's because of the subject matter itself. I mean, how many people would want to know how to make $27,000 a week? I mean, I sure would. But more so than that, it really does come down to Ali himself. He is obviously an intelligent, well-spoken person. I have seen a lot of these make money passively kind of videos, and a lot of them don't come off as sincere or well-spoken or frankly as intelligent as Ali came across in his video. So if you want to see me analyze a specific video, leave it in the comments below. This is all part of an ongoing series where I examine the most popular videos on YouTube. This one got 13 million views, but if you want to see me analyze a video with even more views, check out this video over here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.